Imagine living in a society where women's personal names were rarely recorded in history, yet one woman became so influential that centuries later, her portrait appeared on South Korea's highest value banknote. That woman was Shin Saimdang, one of the most celebrated women in Korean history. She was a remarkable painter, calligrapher, poet, and writer who lived during the Joseon Dynasty. She was also the mother of Yi, better known as Yulgok, one of Korea's greatest Confucian scholars. However, the story of Shin Saimdang is more complex than the image that many people know today. Her life is a combination of historical facts, later traditions, and cultural interpretations that developed over centuries. So, who is the real Shin Saimdang? Was she only the wise mother and good wife remembered in Korean culture, or was she also an extraordinary artist whose achievements deserve recognition on their own? Let us discover her remarkable journey from birth to legacy. Shin Saimdang was born in 1504 during the Joseon Dynasty in Gangneung, located in present-day Gangwon Province, Korea. She was born at Ojukheon, the home of her maternal family, which remains one of Korea's most important historical sites today. Her exact birth date is not completely consistent across sources because Joseon Korea used the traditional lunar calendar. She is generally believed to have been born on the 29th day of the 10th lunar month in 1504, which corresponds to different dates depending on modern calendar conversion methods. Therefore, historians usually describe her as being born in late 1504.
She belonged to the Pyeongsan Shin clan and was the second of 5 daughters. Her father, Shin Myung-hwa, was a Confucian scholar who valued education. Because he had no sons, he provided his daughters with opportunities for learning that were uncommon for women during the Joseon period. This supportive family environment allowed Saimdang to study literature, calligraphy, painting, and traditional arts. Unlike many women of her era, she was able to develop her intellectual and artistic abilities from an early age. Regarding her personal name, historical information is uncertain. Many modern sources identify her birth name as Shin In-seon. However, some historians point out that surviving Joseon records do not clearly confirm this name. During the Joseon Dynasty, women's personal names were often not recorded in official documents, making complete certainty difficult. This uncertainty is not unusual when studying women from this period, because historical records were mainly created by and for men, while many women's individual identities were preserved only through family records and later writings. The name Saimdang became the name by which she was remembered throughout history. It was her pen name, or Ho, and was connected to Tairen, known in Korea as Tai-im, the legendary mother of King Wen of China's Zhou dynasty. In Confucian tradition, Tai-im was admired as an example of wisdom, virtue, and motherhood. By choosing the name Saimdang, she became associated with ideals of learning, morality, and family devotion. However, she was not remembered only for these qualities. She was also an exceptionally talented artist. From childhood, Shin Saimdang showed remarkable artistic ability. Traditional accounts describe that she began painting when she was around 7 years old. Her talent was considered extraordinary, and later generations praised her skills by comparing her artistic ability to An Gyeon, one of the greatest court painters of the Joseon Dynasty. Although these comparisons come mainly from later accounts rather than direct evidence from her childhood, they demonstrate the high level of admiration she received as an artist. She developed skills in painting, calligraphy, poetry, embroidery, and ink painting. Through dedication, education, and practice, she achieved a level of artistic excellence that was extremely rare for women during the 16th century. Around 1522, Shin Saimdang married Yi Won-soo of the Deoksu Yi clan. Unlike many women of her time, she did not immediately move to her husband's family home. Because she had no brothers, her husband stayed with her family for a period of time to help care for her aging parents. This arrangement was unusual within Joseon society and allowed Saimdang to continue developing her artistic abilities while also fulfilling her responsibilities as a wife and daughter. Together, Shin Saimdang and Yi Won-soo had 8 children, 5 sons and 3 daughters. Among them was Yi, known by his pen name Yulgok, who later became one of Korea's most influential Confucian philosophers.
His writings and teachings made him one of the most respected scholars in Korean history. Another son, Yi Yu, also inherited his mother's artistic talent and became known as a painter. Today, Shin Saimdang is especially remembered for her Chochungdo, meaning grass and insect paintings. These works depict flowers, plants, butterflies, insects, and small creatures from nature. They are admired for their delicate brushwork, detailed observation, and ability to capture the beauty of ordinary natural subjects. Her paintings reflect a deep connection with nature and demonstrate her ability to observe even the smallest details of the world around her. A famous legend says that a chicken once pecked at one of her paintings because it mistook the painted insects for real ones. Although this story cannot be historically verified, it represents the admiration later generations had for her artistic realism. She was also associated with elegant orchid ink paintings known as Chochungdo and was respected for her calligraphy. However, historians must be careful when discussing her surviving artworks. Many paintings are traditionally attributed to Shin Saimdang, but the authenticity of these works cannot always be confirmed with complete certainty. Many were preserved and identified through later generations, making it difficult to separate confirmed historical works from artistic traditions associated with her name. Shin Saimdang died on May 17, 1551, at the age of 46. Historical records state that she died suddenly after an illness, but they do not provide a confirmed modern medical explanation for her death. Some sources use different calendar conversions and list different dates, but 1551 is the accepted year of her death. Some later accounts describe personal difficulties before her death, including stories involving her husband's possible relationship with another woman. However, these stories come mainly from later traditions rather than clear contemporary evidence, so historians treat them cautiously. Her death deeply affected her son, Yulgok. Later accounts describe how he experienced profound grief and reflected on the meaning of life and death. These reflections influenced his later philosophical thinking and writings. After her death, Shin Saimdang's image continued to evolve. During her lifetime, she was admired mainly for her artistic abilities. However, later generations increasingly emphasized her role as the mother of Yulgok and as an example of the Confucian ideal of a wise mother and good wife. This image became stronger because Yulgok became one of Korea's greatest scholars. As a result, Saimdang's identity became connected not only with art, but also with motherhood, education, and moral virtue. Modern historians continue to study her life by separating the historical woman from the idealized image created over centuries. In 2009, Shin Saimdang became the first woman featured on a South Korean banknote when her portrait appeared on the 50,000 won note. This recognition reflected her importance in Korean art, culture, education, and history. Today, Shin Saimdang is remembered not only as the mother of Yulgok, but also as one of Korea's most famous female artists. Her life represents creativity, perseverance, education, and the lasting power of artistic expression. Her story reminds us that history is not only about what people achieved during their lifetime, but also about how later generations remember and interpret their lives.
Many people around the world became familiar with Shin Saimdang through the 2017 Korean historical drama, Saimdang, Memoir of Colors, also known internationally as Saimdang, Light's Diary. The drama starred Lee Young-hee, who returned to television after 14 years following her worldwide success in the famous historical drama Jewel in the Palace, Daejanggeum. Because of Lee Young-hee's popularity and the historical importance of Shin Saimdang, the series attracted significant attention even before its release. However, although the drama was inspired by a real historical figure, it is important to understand that Saimdang, Memoir of Colors, is a work of historical fiction, not a documentary biography. The series uses historical figures and cultural settings as inspiration, but many major events and characters were created for dramatic storytelling. The biggest fictional element in the series is the character Yulgok, played by Song Seung-hyun. In the drama, Yulgok is presented as Saimdang's childhood friend, artistic companion, and lifelong love. Their relationship becomes the emotional center of the story. However, there is no historical evidence that such a romantic relationship existed. Historical records confirm that Shin Saimdang married Yi Won-soo and lived as a wife, mother, and artist during the Joseon period. The romance between Saimdang and Yulgok was created by the writers to add emotional depth and dramatic conflict to the story. The drama also introduces many fictional elements surrounding paintings, hidden documents, political conflicts, and personal struggles. These should not be considered actual events from Shin Saimdang's life. However, despite these fictional elements, the drama does accurately portray several important aspects of the historical Shin Saimdang. The series presents her as a highly talented painter, calligrapher, poet, and devoted mother. It reflects her connection with nature, which inspired her famous Chochungdo, or grass and insect paintings. The drama also successfully recreates many aspects of Joseon culture, including traditional clothing, architecture, artistic methods, social customs, and the influence of Confucian values. Ultimately, Saimdang, Memoir of Colors should be appreciated as a beautiful historical fiction drama inspired by a remarkable woman, rather than a completely accurate biography. The real Shin Saimdang did not need a fictional romance or mysterious storyline to make her life extraordinary. Her true achievements were already remarkable. She was a woman who developed exceptional artistic skills during a time when women had limited opportunities. She was a mother who raised Yi Wai, one of Korea's greatest philosophers. She was an artist whose name survived for more than 5 centuries. Her story shows that behind every historical legend exists a real human being, someone shaped by talent, family, society, and the memories of future generations. Shin Saimdang's legacy continues today as a symbol of creativity, education, artistic excellence, and perseverance. From the delicate beauty of her paintings to the influence she had on Korean culture, her life remains one of the most fascinating stories in Korean history. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey through Korean history, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more stories about remarkable figures from the past.